Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel. JustusRStone here, and today I am talking about volume number 6 in Reki Kawahara's light novel series, Accel World. Now it's really hard to talk about this volume without having some spoilers for volume number 5, so if you haven't read that volume, I suggest you do it before watching the rest of this video. I'm going to have some really minor spoilers. Well, okay, maybe not so minor, but I am going to have spoilers for volume 5 in this video, so consider yourself warned. In volume 5, spoiler bits, in volume 5 we have 3 major events that occur that sort of change the landscape of the accelerated world. The first one is the Accelerated Research Society sort of rears its head and becomes a known enemy amongst the general populace of the accelerated world. The second thing that happens is that the incarnate system, which has been pretty much a closely guarded secret by the higher leveled players of Accel World, has been released and revealed to the sort of general populace by, again, the Accelerated Research Society. And then the third one that mostly impacts our main character Haru is that he lets his anger get the best of him and becomes consumed by the cursed armor Chrome Disaster. Volume 5 had a lot of action and a lot of different things sort of going on. Volume 6 is more like a bridge type episode where we have the fallout of those events. So the book begins with the 7 Kings of Color meeting for the first time since Kurioki Hime beheaded the Red King. And on their agenda is basically, what are we going to do about this incarnate system, and what are we going to do about Chrome Disaster? And so Haru finds himself basically with a countdown on his head that if he can't figure out a way to get rid of Chrome Disaster, purge himself of that parasite, he could find himself with a bounty. He could find that his unrestricted and time in the accelerated world is coming to an end. In a lot of ways, volume number 6 is about character building. We're introduced to a new character, Utai, who is a young girl. She's actually younger even than Nico the Red King. She's, I think they say, about 9 years old. And she fits into sort of with Haru. He meets her through a school function. And what I find with Accel World, and as I watch this dynamic, particularly with this new character, and let's talk about the fact just for a moment that a lot of people would consider this a harem type story. You have the main central character, Haru, who's then surrounded by these, beautiful females. But it doesn't read a lot like a harem. What I have sort of come to the conclusion as I was thinking about this volume and what to say about it is, and the reason why this new character seems to work and fit into the scheme of things almost immediately, is that what I realize is Accel World is about family. We found out, in previous volumes that one of the conditions really for a person to become a brain burster or burst linker is that essentially their neural linker acted as their adult. They didn't really have parent figures in their lives. They were basically left to occupy themselves and be occupied by their neural linker. And so if you stop thinking about this as a harem, but you instead take a look at each of these characters and how they fit into the mix in terms of a family unit, it makes a lot of sense. We have Skyraker, who is the oldest of the group, and she does fill sort of this almost maternal, older sister type archetype for Haru. Then, of course, we have Kurioki Hime, who is his love interest. We have Chiyu and Taku, who are his friends that fill that sort of aspect of his relationship strata. And now we have Utai that sort of fits that younger sister, that somebody for him to have that sense that he wants to protect, and not in the sense of Kurioki Hime, who he wants to protect her because he loves her in sort of a more than just, family sense. But in this case, it is that sort of warmth and that bigger brother and wanting to look out for somebody. And so it's almost as if with the characters that are sort of being formed around Haru, it's filling in those pieces of a family unit that we've been told he hasn't had in his life. And when you look at it that way, it's probably why Accel World doesn't really bother me in terms of, say, a harem aspect. Because these girls aren't really all falling all over themselves because they're in love with Haru, say, like an Infinite Stratos type story, but rather they all have this affection for him. And it's not all lusty and I want to be your girlfriend and blah, blah, blah. And everybody sort of seems to settle into these relationships. And in this volume, we find out a lot of backstory about what happened back in those days when Kuryoki Hime first went rogue and beheaded the Red King. We find out what happened to the original Nega Nebulous and why it is that Nega Nebulous, now that it's sort of reformed, why a lot of the older members haven't come back and rejoined. It's pretty clear that we have things being set up in this book. We have the meeting of the Seven Kings, and there are some very distinct character interactions during those moments that sort of foreshadow a lot of events that could be coming up. And also, again, it plays into that idea of backstory, and we find out why there's certain relationships and why people feel a certain way. And there's one king who is noticeably absent and sends a proxy instead. And I think that's going to set up a whole other story. There's just a few little lines that kind of suggest that there's something pretty big about this. There's even just one sentence that describes these original kings, these kings of color. And I don't want to spoil it, but it just kind of clicks in your head that you're like, oh, well, maybe there's a lot more to these kings than even what we've been led to believe so far. In short, I thought Volume 6 was really decent. It had a lot of good pacing to it, but was more focused on characters as opposed to action. It was a good sort of reaction to the events of Book 5, and I thought really was setting up probably what will be the next sort of major story arc in the series. If you've liked Accel World to this point, I think you'll really enjoy it, especially if you enjoy the characters, because there's a lot of good moments with the characters in this book. So those are my thoughts on volume number 6 of Accel World. So in my next video, we're going to the beach with volume number 4 of The Devil is a Part-Timer. You know, the cover with a really cute little young anime girl in a bathing suit makes it really almost kind of embarrassing to read at work, but I'll try and get through it. Anyway, that'll be my next video. Click on subscribe on the link above my head or in the comments section or the description down below so you can keep up with all of my future light novel reviews, including this one and future reviews of Accel World. I've got on my left, I've got links to other light novel reviews, manga reviews, which I know I've been really bad on, but I'm going to get going again. And also, I do like to write books as well as read them, so I've got links to those there as well. So thanks very much for watching the video. I hope you enjoy it. Leave your thoughts and comments down below. I hope to see you in my next video. Until then, bye-bye for now.